Hi everyone, it's Sarah. I'm back on Monday. I had hoped that I would be able to be back and I made it happen, so I'm proud of myself. I'm going to talk about my stitching from the past week or so. I did some homework for School of Magical Stitches and Literature, and of course the 24 hours of cross stitch, which I talked about in my last video. 24 hours of cross stitch. Let's talk about that first. Jen Lee of Quirks and Stitches, she has a FlossTube channel, created this kind of event based on her husband does some video game 24-hour events. So she thought it would be fun. A couple of months ago, her and her mom sat up all night and cross stitched. And so this time, after hearing some feedback from that, she decided to open it up to the community to see who else would be interested in stitching either all or part of the 24 hours. I was part of Team Sleep, which were the people who did not stay up all night. There was also a Team Caffeinate, but I do believe that the numbers of Team Sleep were higher, so don't feel bad if you're interested in participating in a future event but don't think that you want to stay up all night. I knew that it would be a mess if I tried to. So I did that. I started stitching it started at 4 o'clock Eastern time. I'm in Central time, so I started at 3. And I stitched until midnight exactly. I did 4 hours on one project and then 4 hours on another project, but I took like a dinner break in between, so I had an hour off in between. And I was going to try to stitch for another hour or so at midnight, but right at midnight my power went off. Like, we just lost power, and so I called the power company and, you know, told them we had an outage, and then I went to bed. I was like, it wasn't going to be quick. We live in a rural area, so I knew that if I stayed up and waited for it to come back on, I was not going to want to stitch anymore anyway. So I just decided to go to bed at midnight. Woke up at around 8. I started stitching about 9. Because I had breakfast and all of that fun stuff. Started stitching around 9, maybe 8:30. Can't remember exactly. But worked on. I had planned. I talked about this last time. I had planned that I was going to stitch, like changing every, like stitch all through my whips and change every hour or two depending on how I was feeling about the whip. So I stitched I'll just go through the projects and talk about how they pertain to homework too, if they did. Let's just do that. I'm a little confused on how to do this because I'm doing it different than normal, just with extra stuff. So I will try over here to put a picture up of what this looked like before I started stitching this past week. So what you would have seen in my last video, or the last video that I showed these projects, because I think not all of them I had worked on before my last video. So this is what I got done. I worked on this both Friday and Saturday for School of Magical Stitches. And I got a page finished, so I'm really happy about that. Yeah, this is also my 90-day challenge piece for full coverage fanatics. So yeah, I was really excited to get to that page finish. And then last night we went to St. Louis yesterday and just did a couple of errands, ran a couple of errands. So I got home last night and I did one strand and I had to frog twice. It was, I don't know what my counting issue was with that one little bit of stitching I did, but in the process of stitching one strand of floss, I had to frog twice. Now, luckily, I mean, it wasn't a lot of stitches. It was this area, see if I can find it right here. This one right here that was causing me problems. I could not get it lined up. I don't know why. I counted it and just put it in the wrong place. So yeah, twice frogged, but it's done and it's in the right place now. So I'll continue working on that today. But yeah, this was my first piece on Friday, and then also my first piece on Saturday, just because I wanted to make sure that I worked on it, because it is that everyday project. And then the other project, oh, and that was homework also, because one of them was to stitch on with a dark color. Obviously, there's a lot of black in here, so I just kind of down in here stitched my stitches. I think it was 300 stitches in black. And then the second piece of homework I used this for was for the oh my goodness, the fat lady disappearing. And we had to stitch a project that was at least 75 complete. By the time I finished doing my black stitches, I was definitely 75% complete with this page. Somewhere they had said that a page finish was fine, so I was excited to be able to do that. I didn't really have anything else that was 75% complete that still had the 300 stitches in it. So yeah, I got to use that for 2 pieces of homework this week. Still love this project, still love stitching it. And that's part of the reason why I picked it for my 90-day challenge, is because I know I like to pull it out and work on it. The other project I did for homework, this is Beautiful Bird. This is a Dimension Gold Collection Petite. This is one I've talked about that I've had for forever. There's a lot of glare. There we go. That's a little bit better. So I pulled this out. We had to stitch on something with a mistake, where we either worked around it or where we did like a color change conversion. So over here, I did figure out what was wrong, is that somehow, I think even up in here, I got my stitches like a line too far low. And I'm just pointing at the wrong place maybe. But yeah, it was just off by 1 row. So I decided that I was going to try to work around it. I managed to get all my stitches to go. And I think it looks fine. There's some back stitching. I'm curious because there's like a, if you look here, there's this kind of frame. I don't know if we can get close enough to, yeah, so there's a frame right here is going to be where the issue is. So I may have to work how, I cannot get that to focus. It's trying to focus on my face. Let me see if I, anyway, yeah, that because it's kind of, I'll have to maybe fudge a little bit there too, but I'd rather do that than rip out all of those stitches and, you know, a few different colors. So yeah, and this is the progress I made. It was mostly down in here. I did some of the blue stitching over here. But yeah, mostly this area here was where I got my 300 stitches in. I still love this. I don't know. I only like working on it a little bit at a time. By the time the 300 stitches were done, I was definitely ready for a different project. So yeah, it's just slow going for whatever reason. It probably shouldn't be that slow, but it is. And then the other project I worked on for the 24 hours was, I showed this to you last week. I had just got a start on Vizzini's head. So this was the last project I worked on. And so this was after I had done my little bit on the dragon piece to finish up that page. I finished with a page finish for the 24 hours. That was fun. I decided to pull this one out and work on it. Work on it for the rest. I had originally thought I was going to pull out a different project every hour or two and work through probably 10 or so whips. I ended up doing 14 hours total in the 24 hours. So I had thought that I would be able to do that, work on different whips throughout. And I just wasn't feeling that. So I decided I wanted to work on these pieces longer. So I allowed myself to work on these pieces longer. I will put a picture here of what he looked like last time, or what this picture pattern looked like. This is by Wee Little Stitches. I do not believe that it is available anymore. I did not find it in their Etsy shop. So I got Vizzini finished, and then I got a start on Prince Humperdinck. So yeah, I think this will be one of the vying for attention pieces for this week's homework. And then the dragon will probably be the other one because I just love stitching it so much. And this one, I didn't get as far in it. This is one of my Christmas cross stitch projects that I had talked about in an earlier video, where for Christmas 2018, I gifted my family members a cross stitch of their choice based on some choices I gave them. So this is for that. I created an Instagram. I should talk about that real quick. finally, I think I actually already had an Instagram account. I just didn't use it. I'm out of focus. Sorry about the bump there. It is Sarah, SARAHBHB. That was my scrapbooking username on all of the scrapbooking forums I was in. So that's when I created the Instagram. I guess I probably thought I was going to use it for scrapbooking more, which I never once posted a photo. So yeah, Sarah BHB is my username over there. That's also what I used on the Discord channel for the 24 hours of stitching. And I will post, Jen did her wrap-up video yesterday, so I will post that so you can see how she did on hers. But yeah, I have an Instagram, Sarah BHB. And then I created a hashtag for those that are following my Christmas stitching. If anybody's following my Christmas stitching, it is hashtag XMASXSTITCH 2018. So Xmas X Stitch 2018. And I will put those both, my Instagram account and my that hashtag in the description, just in case you want to see how I'm progressing. I make sure that with my family too, just so if they're curious of how their project is coming along. I am definitely not as far along with some of them as I had hoped to be. Like I said, February was a rough month, so I kind of pushed everything back a little bit. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. But I've gotten January, February, and March. Something started each month. And I'll have a new start this week for an April start. Yeah, a week late, but it is what it is. I had talked about last week, I bought the Artiste metallic thread from Hobby Lobby, and I wanted to try it out on this Let It Snow pattern. Sorry, I had a spill of coffee or something on this at one point, so it's a little crinkly. But this Let It Snow pattern, Country Cottage Needleworks, from the 2008 Christmas Ornament, Just Cross Stitch Christmas Ornament magazine. And there's some stars that are just scattered about. I think there's only like 3 of them. I did finish my birds in my last little bit of stitching, and I was going to, so that bird got finished up and that bird got finished up, and I really think that was, oh, and then the mouth. I still have to do the eyes. I think I'm just going to do the French knots like it's called for. I had kind of thought maybe I would do beads, but, so I still have to do that. But yeah, I tried that thread. I do not recommend it. And then I thought I'd go, when we went to St. Louis yesterday, I thought I would end up going and getting some Krennic. Joanne, I guess, doesn't carry Krennic anymore. I did not see it anyway at the one that I went to. So I'm hoping we have to go to Memphis next weekend to run an errand. So I'm kind of hoping that I can stop by the cross stitch store there real quick and pick up some metallic to use just to do those last little stitches. I also thought about just doing the stars in white and calling them snowflakes, like little mini snowflakes, because there are some snowflakes scattered about too. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. If I get to go to the cross stitch store, I'll pick up some Petite Treasure Braid maybe, because I've never used that before if they have that. Otherwise, I'll just pick up Silver Krennic like I had planned on originally. So yeah, I am saying a lot. I'm sorry, guys. I've really tried to not do it, and I'm really horrible, but maybe I'll get better as I go on. I really admire the people that can make it through these videos and not say all the time, especially the newer floss tubers and new to video people, because there we go. That's what I do. The other thing, I did go to Joanne. I had shared, if I can find this. Every Home Needs a Gnome FlossTube channel. She's starting to design, and I don't know why all of a sudden her name is escaping me. I know it. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. But yeah, Every Home Needs a Gnome. She's did a design that she put out either beginning of this year or end of last year. I don't remember exactly. And I decided I was going to start stitching it. This is another one of my painted, this is a piece of painted linen. I didn't have a lot of the colors that I needed. So I got a start on it, but yesterday when I was at Joann, I got colors that I needed to finish this up. So that'll be something that'll be coming back out hopefully this week. Excited to be able to work on that some more because I really think it's cute as a button. I will link her YouTube channel. I feel bad that I can't think of what her name is. I will link her YouTube channel, and I will also link the blog where she has that free pattern at. And then the other pattern that I have to show, the other thing I picked up some Fiddler's Ada 16 count at Joann as well. This will be my April Christmas start. This is for my brother-in-law. It is, Saguaro National Park. He's a horse guy. He has a couple of horses. He has ridden rodeo for quite a few years now, and so he had picked this one. He liked the look of it, so that'll be my next start. I thought that I had this when I looked at my inventory list. I thought that it showed me that I had this top color, so I was like, oh, I can just get the, you know, I actually looked at the top few colors, and I was like, oh, I have a bunch of them. When I went to go pull it out to work on it, because I was going to start on it last night, so I'd have a new start to share with you. I realized I didn't have that one in my stash. I don't know why. I thought I even looked back at my inventory program and it was showing 0. So I don't know where I got messed up on it. But my husband is an amazing person. He's going to stop by Hobby Lobby on his way home from work today and pick up a couple of skeins of that color so I can get started on it. So I'm excited to have another start on my Christmas stuff. Still, at least it's in April, even if it's not the beginning of April. I think I was a little bit late with all of them, even the first one. So yeah, that'll be a new start this week. So I'll have a little bit, hopefully next week, to show you on that. Let's see. Mentions that I wanted to do. Obviously, Jen Lee, Quirks and Stitches, doing the 24 hours. That drove my weekend a lot. So I wanted to do another shout out to her just in organizing it. I think it went really smoothly. I spent a lot of time on the Discord channel just chatting with the few people there that were chatting, just text chatting, not voice chatting. That never really seemed to take off as far as I could see. I'd like to give it a go sometime just to see how I would do with it. I talk to my husband a lot while I'm cross-stitching, so I know Jen had said she was surprised that she doesn't really talk while she cross-stitches, but I do. I mean, I'll have conversations with my husband or daughter while I'm cross-stitching. So I would like to give that a go. I'm a member of Virtual Stitchers too, which I know some of y'all are probably familiar with, but I have not ever tried to do a chat in there. Maybe this will be the motivation to do that, just because I was really curious how all of that would go. And I don't have a local community. I am not too far from St. Louis, so I keep hoping at some point I'll get to go to one. There's a lot of meetups that happen in the St. Louis area, but it hasn't worked out time-wise. I either have something going on somewhere else, or my husband's on call. We only have one car, so if he's on call, I can't go anywhere because he needs the car to get to work if he gets called in. So I don't know. I'm really hoping that I can help my need of community, I guess, is the way to describe it. I would like to be part of the community in more than just posting occasionally on Facebook in like the stitching groups. And I mean, I enjoy FlossTube, and that has built the biggest. I mean, just I am so surprised that people want to watch me sometimes. And the conversation that happens in the comments is wonderful. I try to read and respond to everyone. If I don't read and respond to it, it's because YouTube didn't notify me of it. I've gone back and found comments from, you know, a couple of months ago that I never saw the notification for. So either YouTube didn't notify me or I just missed the notification. So, but yeah, I really do try to answer and respond to every, if I get a notification and I see it, I'm gonna read it and respond to it for sure. And I'm just thankful for all of you. Then the other mention I want to do is Brenda, Handwork Maniac. She posted 3 videos this past week, which is amazing. And one of them was a regular FlossTube video, and I immensely enjoy her FlossTube videos. I like seeing what she's working on. But she also kind of did a little bit of a overview of her stitching area, which is beautiful. They did an addition, and I guess her stitching area is in the addition, and it is just windows. So it's nice and bright and cheery. She looks like she's got a comfortable spot to stitch. So I enjoyed that, and she just kind of showed what she uses as far as her lap stand and what she puts on the table next to her and all of that stuff. So I thought that was really cool. And then she also, I had mentioned in another one, I really enjoyed, she has a piece that she did that are kind of just the houses and buildings that were important to her at the time that she stitched it. And I think it is an amazing piece. And she did kind of an overview video of how she came about putting that together, all of the steps that she took in putting that together. And so I'd like to try one at some point. I don't know. I have some obstacles. I thought about doing my childhood homes. I lived in 3, one of which I lived from the ages of 5 to 15. I think actually 16. I think we moved when I was 16. So the last house, I don't have as many of those emotional memories tied to it. I started college at 16. I mean, I still lived at home, but I was back and forth. I stayed with friends. I wasn't always home the whole time I was in college. I actually, my first 2 semesters maybe I was, but after that, I kind of wasn't as much. I only really spent, just a year there, and then I moved back home after I had been working for a little while, and I lived there for another year or so. So I don't have those kind of emotional memories of that. And then my first house that I lived in, again, I mean, we moved when I was 5. We moved when I was in kindergarten, and then we moved back, and I think I spent like half a 2nd grade living in this house. So there were memories surrounding it, especially because I did go back and spend some time there later. And it was on my grandmother's property. So even after we moved out, it was still something that was accessible to us. But the issue with it is it was a house that my dad built when my parents first got married. And it's a geodesic dome. I mean, this was the 70s. So, and I'm just not sure how I'm going to go about doing that if I decide to do it. So what I'm kind of thinking about doing is kind of doing that house that I lived in for the most of the years. And putting that in the center. And it has, like, there's some interesting things I can pull. I had a gabled roof that met in the front. And then it had lattice on it just had a small front porch. It had lattice on it. So if I could figure out a way to do the lattice, I think that really shows that kind of that pitched roof with the lattice. And then my dad was a mason, and when I was young, he later got a computer science degree and went into programming and consulting. But when I was young, he was a mason. And so he had built planter boxes out of stone that went from the porch to the front of the house, and then my mom would grow some herbs in there or in flowers later on, I think. So I don't have really specific memories about that, but I thought if I did the house there and then kind of put those elements in, because surely I can find something that I can use to make those work, hopefully. There are other things with that house that are real strong memories, like we had a blackberry bush kind of along the side to my neighbor's yard. So it was a blackberry bush, and there was honeysuckle mixed in with that. So honeysuckle and blackberries. I would love to add something that has to do with that. We had a big tree with a swing on it when I was young. My dad built we always called it the fort. It had a sandbox underneath. It went up into just a large platform. And then there was a ladder going up and a slide coming down. And he built that when I was probably like 3rd, 4th grade, I want to say. So we used to, in the summer, we'd get one of those like 18-inch wading pools and put it at the bottom and run the hose down and do a little water slide in our backyard. So that was a pretty strong memory for me as well. We lived in a neighborhood where there weren't a lot of fences, so everybody's backyard, and there were kids that lived from our house down to the end of the block. So there were 4 houses there. There were kids around my age in every one of those houses. 5 houses. Yeah, 5 houses, including ours. And just one big long black backyard. So we just wandered back and forth between, I mean, everybody's backyard was everybody's backyard. So, and we played softball a lot in the summer. So I would like to maybe incorporate something with softball. We rode our bikes all the time. And then things specific to the house, my dad built some raised planter boxes, and they grew, in the front one, they had cactus. They had like a prickly pear cactus in that one. And then in the back one, they grew herbs. So, well, I think maybe later, after he built the planter box in the front, they decided to grow their herbs. I think they liked the way I don't know. I don't know the reasoning behind all of this stuff. My mom grew a small garden in the back for a few years with tomatoes and all of that stuff. I grew up in Arkansas. Tomatoes are good in Arkansas. They're really good. And then she grew strawberries at one point, so we used to have fresh strawberries in the backyard. So there's just like those little things that I'm like, I could really kind of maybe do the same thing where it's the idea of 9, but there's the house and then 9 things surrounding the house. I don't know. I'm rambling now. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do. But if you watch the video and you're thinking about doing it, I'd love to hear how you're thinking about doing something like this. And thank you, Brenda, so much for your amazing videos. I really enjoyed listening to how you, or watching how you kind of put your stuff together. I think it's a beautiful piece. And I'm not sure when, but I'd like to try something like that of my own. I think my problem with my adult life is that I have lived in so many places. And I don't know. I mean, definitely some of them have a stronger emotional tie than others, but, you say hi to AJ. He's still been super clingy lately. You want to say hi to the camera? AJ. You want to say hi? You want to say hi? So, he is our boy cat. We have his litter mate also here, we sometimes call her girl cat. Her name is Bella. Those are the names that they came from the shelter with. We just kept them. And then, you've heard me talk about the newest addition who came to us last fall, and his name is Zach. Okay, last thing. My gosh, I feel like I'm super rambly today. I'm sorry, guys. Last thing is my game. This is Fused by Kane Kinko. This is a few years old. He's nuzzling now. I thought this would be fun because we talked about the 24 hours of stitching. This is a timed game. This is real time. You have 10 minutes. And you're diffusing bombs on a ship. It is super abstracted, but there's a timer. You can download an app on your phone or tablet, so there is a timer that will add a little bit of intensity to it, but the whole idea is you're rolling dice. Let's see if I can... There is a bag that comes with the game that's pretty nice. And inside the bag are different dice. Let me see if I can get a better color variation, because those are all like almost the same color. Let's see. Dice with numbers on them of different colors. And you're trying to, the way it works, this is a cooperative game. And in 10 minutes, you are trying to defuse bombs. Bombs being cards that look like this. And there's no white dice. So if it has a number on it and it's white, then that means that you need any color, but it needs to be 2. This is any number, but it needs to be yellow. And this is specifically a green 5, which is going to be harder to get, obviously. And the way it works is the person who has the dice that time pulls out the equal number of dice to the number of players. They roll it, and then everybody talks about, they have, I think, just 2 of these cards in front of them. It may be 3. But they talk about which dice will work best for which person. But you're on a timer, so you have to, like, really make those decisions fast. So, I mean, obviously, if a green 5 came up, I'd be like, I really need that die because it might be the only time we see it. Whereas if there's a couple of yellow, you can decide which one belongs to you. And there's penalties if there's an unusable die at the end. So you want to try to make sure everybody's able to use the die that they get. So that's one of the cards. I'll show you a few of these. So this one is any number blue and any number red, but the total numbers on the dice have to be 6. So it can be 2 3s, or it can be a 4 and a 2. And it doesn't matter which is which, but they have to equal 6. This one is, you have to have a die that is a blue 4, and then the other die can either be a yellow or a red, and then the last one can be a blue or a green. So it's kind of, that's what that split there is. This one is just a stack. So you stack your dice here, and it can be anything. That is a question mark. Well, and you can see, it's like this one right here. It says worth 3 points at the end. And you're just trying to get the highest score you can get among all of the players. This one, even though there's more dice required, you can use any dice and it doesn't matter what order. So it's only worth 1 point. This one you have to build 2 stacks. And then you see this one's worth 6 points. And this one you can, any color, but they have to, you know, it has to be a 1 and a 1 or a 4, a 5 or a 2, a 3 or a 6. And then the same thing with the colors. They have to match those colors. You just stack them up there. And you have to do it in order. I didn't mention that. So when you stack, you're going to start here and go that way. So the first one has to be a red or a yellow. The second one has to be a blue or a green. And the third one has to be a black or a red. So yeah, this one is, they can be any color, but they all have to match. So it all has to be red or it all has to be blue. And this one is 2 different sets. The colors have to match. The numbers have to match. There's a pyramid card. So 2 black at the bottom. Doesn't matter the number, but it has to be topped up on the top die. The third die would have to be a 1 of any color. And then there's a bigger pyramid. So another one that's worth 6 points. This one was only worth 2. This one's worth 6. It's going to require more dice. Again, they have to be in order. So it has to be 3 red, 6, and then yellow, red, and then yellow on top. So they have to be done in order. And then you'll see also there's ones with the any numbers. Again, 2 different numbers on each side. They don't have to be the same numbers, but they have to equal. So if you were, you could have a 3 and a 4 here and a 6 and a 1 here, and that would work. But you just have to make sure you're doing a little bit of an equation there. Maybe a good, if you want to brush up on some elementary math schools with math with your kids, this might be a good game for that. So this is another stacker one. Yeah, and that's pretty much, those are the main ways that you do it. So the way it works is everybody starts with 2 or 3 cards, and then you shuffle up, and there's different, it's cooperative, so there's different levels. The harder it is, the more cards there are. So you decide as a group where you want to start. And then there are also what are called fuse cards. So they are either a color or a number. And the way this works is whenever somebody defuses a bomb, meaning that they complete the objective on their card, they put the dice, take the dice off the card, turn it upside down, and draw a new card. Well, interspersed in with the other bomb cards are what are called fuse cards. And if somebody draws one of these cards, immediately, if a player has, say this one is a 2, has this on their, any of their bombs that they're currently defusing, then they lose that die. And so I think there's 6 of these that are shuffled up. It may depend on player number as well. So yeah, if you have a green die, you're going to lose that die. If you don't, then you don't lose anything. But yeah, you don't necessarily want them to come up. They're definitely a detriment, especially when, your only green one is that specific green 5 that I showed earlier, and you have to get rid of it. You get to choose which one if you have more than one. But you have to get rid of one die that matches. And if you've completed a cord, you don't have to lose, like, once the bomb's completed, being diffused, even if you haven't turned it over and got the dice at the end of the turn, you can't touch it. It's safe. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You have 10 minutes to go through however many cards you decide as a group, and it's super fun. You know the game's only going to take 10 minutes. There's a follow-up game where the bombs have all exploded. You've failed, and then you do, and I cannot think of the name of it, but I will put it in the description below, and I don't own it. I've never played it, but you're taking care of, you're like paramedics taking care of the people that were injured due to the bombs. So, but yeah, and it's also a real-time game, but I don't know much more other than that. I think that is all I have for you today. I feel like I rushed through this and it still was 36 minutes. I really like to keep mine under 30. But, I guess I had more to talk about than I thought I did. I will hopefully be back next week at the same time. We'll see. And, yeah, I don't guess I have anything else to talk about. I will see y'all next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.